Now we've got Hugo, Webster, who's actually a man of many, many hats and across a lot of different sports. So in his bio, there is no hiding with horses. We are laid bare, humble and seen in a way that not many others do in life and daily practice with our horses. Do we always show up at our best version? Our best partner for our horse, Hugo, is here to help us discover how to self-assess this and bring out that in our coaches. So located in the inner West Sydney, he is across a wide range of sports, ensuring we maintain their ability to perform their best in sessions, break down some solutions for you as individuals and as coaches to help you optimise your performance. So Hugo's going to be in this session and then a later session this afternoon.
Perfect. Thanks, Ben. And good afternoon, everyone. It's a real pleasure to be here presenting for Equestrian New South Wales to such a small group of coaches. I'm glad that I don't have too much social anxiety because that would definitely put me off today, but I really hope that all of you can take away something from this presentation. So what we're going to focus on today is sports psychology, particularly when anxiety gets in the way. Just a quick little bit about me. So I've worked with Equestrian for a number of years now, particularly with Equestrian Pathways Australia. So worked with predominantly para athletes, so presenting workshops to them and also working with them individually. I studied at UQ and UNSW. My sporting background's more from a rowing, rugby, running sense. Still rowing, but not doing rugby anymore. Don't want to get broken in half, so happy being intact. I work across a number of different sports. I started off with archery. I've also worked across bowls, athletics, swimming, working with surfing and golf. There's definitely differences across all these sports, but there's also a lot of similarities. So hopefully those similarities will pass on to equestrian. Obviously there's a pretty big differing factor between equestrian and most other sports, as you've got another live being with you. That adds another complexity, but what we talk about today here should help you and your horse and your athlete. So if we have a look at, we can sort of look at anxiety getting in the way as a bit of a cycle, right? So we've got a big competition coming up, or maybe we're up against a few competitors. That fear comes up, there's that doubt, how's my performance going to go? And we get that physiological response. So there's that muscle tension, breathing might shallow, heart rate comes up, and our horses figure this out, right? They know, they're well aware, they know exactly how we're feeling, okay? And then they start to go, okay, what's up? You know, this isn't the same as training. All of a sudden, competition day doesn't feel the same as training day. Things are starting to go out the window. We start to rush. We're gripping our reins. We're, not taking the right amount of strides. And then that results in a poor performance. We're frustrated, with disappointment, and the cycle continues, right? So we're going, okay, well, I didn't really enjoy feeling anxious before that. I didn't enjoy the fear. I didn't enjoy the doubt. So we should that's what we need to get rid of, right? That's the part of the cycle. So, okay, well, how would we do that? How do we get rid of anxiety? Maybe with some positive thinking. Yeah, I can think my way out of it. I've got this. I can do this. Maybe it might make us feel a little bit better briefly in the moment. But to me, this is just adding fuel to the fire. So it's actually taking your focus away from where it should be, on your horse, on your next move, on your warm-up, what you've got to do next. And we can see this in the literature as well. We can also look how positivity can become toxic in this sort of way. All right, well, what about maybe it's to do with our posture? Maybe if we stand up stronger, we roll our shoulders back and, power pose. Sorry, unfortunately, that's been debunked as well. When you look at how they did the analysis there, statistically, didn't stand up to scrutiny. Okay, what about if we smile, be happier, do what you usually would when you're happier? Surprise, also debunked. They did a study where they, got people to smile without realising it, but when they tried to replicate this study, they didn't find the same results. Okay, so we'll do another little physical demonstration here to sort of demonstrate this futility of trying to get rid of anxiety. So what I'm going to get everyone to do is we're going to get our hands here, and these are going to be our thoughts and feelings. This is going to be everything that comes up before, maybe it's a coaching session, or for our athletes, it's before our competition day. It's the doubt, it's the fear, it's the excitement, okay? And what I want you to do is put your hands up there in front of your eyes, okay? And how easy or difficult does it make it for you to coach your athlete at the moment? How easy does it make it for you to see what's going on? It's not super easy, is it? Okay, so let's try and get rid of it. Let's push it away. So push it away as far as you can, nice and high, get it out of the way. So our thoughts and feelings, they're over here now. We've got them a bit further away, right? This is good. I can see a little bit easier. I can sort of concentrate on trying to coach my athlete. I can see a couple of hands lowering a bit. Keep them up. Keep them up. It's easy, right? Not particularly. Okay, so is there something else we can do? What I want you to do is drop your hands into your lap. Okay, so the thoughts and feelings, they haven't gone any further away. They're not somewhere else. They're here, but it's a lot easier to deal with them here, right? We can see the world around us. We can communicate to the person next to us. But how do we do that, right? It's easier said than done. But that's what we're going to look at today. So the question becomes, rather than how do we get rid of anxiety, how do we help our athletes think and behave more flexibly? And there's 3 key ways we're going to look into that today, which is opening up, getting present, and doing what matters. So opening up, right? This bit. Super easy. Oh yeah, regret, disappointment, frustration. Yeah, I can put that away nice and easily. Not super easy because they are quite uncomfortable emotions, right? We're motivated not to feel these things. They're there, they have a function, we want to get rid of them, they're uncomfortable, so that's why our initial reaction is there. Let's try and get rid of them. It's also hard because we're often taught these emotions are bad. So I'm going to give you like a rundown of just a few different emotions, and just in your head I want you to just really quickly put them into the good or bad category, right? So just really quickly put them into the good or bad category. Happiness, joy, relaxed, okay, fear, doubt, disgust. Who taught you that those ones were good and those ones were bad? Okay, we put a lot of judgment on these thoughts in the first place. And so then we get this meta feeling. We've got the fear of feeling that thing in the first place. If I feel that thing, then things are bad. That's not necessarily the case. There's a strong function behind these emotions. So I'm sure many of you would have heard of this fight or flight response. If our ancestor over here didn't get anxious and didn't run away, then we probably wouldn't be sitting here today. It's our anxious ancestors who passed on those genes to us that, yeah, have allowed us to survive, but obviously we live in a very different environment today. We've got our same brain as these guys, but we're in a much safer environment. So our brain's still really ready to perceive threat. We just need to change how we respond to that threat or challenge when it comes up. So often what we opt to do is actually to be avoidant rather than be open. This is sometimes the easier, in the moment, way to go about things. So let's take a scenario, for example. Your athlete's got a major competition coming up. They're nervous about the result. They're worried about their competitors. Their horse might not be responding typically. I don't know if anyone's had an athlete in this situation before. A couple of smiles, a couple of nods, but just have a think about how they typically react or how they might react initially. So, maybe they're going, it's all over, like this competition's a write-off. If we just follow that thought, it might be like, okay, well, my horse isn't going to compete well now, so why bother? So what might the function behind this style of thinking be? For me, I see it as really avoidant, because what we're trying to do is avoid the disappointment we would feel if we then went ahead and failed. So if I just decrease the importance of this event, if I think, why bother, see it as a training run, just not try my hardest, when I fail, I won't feel as disappointed. Usually pretty futile, right? Because guess what? You still feel that disappointment. So all we've done is taken away from the chance to make the most of that event. Same with often the thinking that I'm sure we've all heard the phrase "don't worry" before as well. Not sure how well that's worked for you. Doesn't work particularly well for me. In fact, sometimes it makes you go, "Don't worry." Wait, so should I be worrying? What should I be worrying about? And we end up in this cycle again. So we're trying to avoid dictating what we're feeling and have more control over how we're responding. So, okay, let's get to the how. How are we going to open up? So a really simple way that I like to remember how to open up is these 3 A's. Acknowledge, allow, and accommodate. So what might that look like? Well, let's take the scenario that we had before. We've got our athlete, major competition coming up, nervous about the result, other competitors, horse not responding. So again, same thought comes up. there's that stories coming up about it's all over, why bother, why should I? Okay, let's hit the pause button there and acknowledge that that's what our mind is saying to us in that moment. Hey, my mind's trying to tell me it's all over. There's that acknowledgement step. Cool. Next step's a bit harder, so we're lowering our hands here. I'm going to let that thought be here. So it's all, my brain's saying it's all over, why bother? Actually, I'm actually going to let that thought be here. Then, even harder, we're really trying to drop these hands now. I'm going to accommodate this thought. I'm going to let it hang around. I'm going to let it, maybe it sticks around for a long time. I like to call them sticky thoughts. Sometimes they just hang around for a while. But we want to develop what I like to call Teflon pans, so that these thoughts they just come and go, they slide off, but we're open to them coming up. We'll let them hang around. We're not going to waste our time and energy fighting with them, because we know, we've discussed, that's really futile. It's really futile trying to fight with them, right? And you see I've got my Qantas ticket there, which, taking me over to Europe when my athlete's going to compete over there. You think about when you've got to tick the box and read the terms and conditions to go over there. You've got to accept all the risks and liabilities, all that sort of thing. Same with these thoughts and emotions. These are the terms and conditions of not only being a high-performance athlete, but being a high-performance coach as well. All the frustration, all the disappointment, all the regret, all the doubt that comes with it. We're signing up to that when we choose to be here. So we've got to develop these skills to build that capacity to experience them and not avoid them. Okay, so how can we help our athletes build this sense of openness? Really good place to start is just to encourage them to experience both those comfortable and uncomfortable feelings. Don't push them away, get a bit more used to them. This is particularly, again, when anxiety gets in the way. Sometimes it's good, sometimes we need that positive affirmation to move forward, but this is when it's really getting in the way. We've got to develop that capacity to experience both. Validate what they're thinking. So rather than this don't worry or don't think that or you should be this, we want to go, okay, we can do that acknowledgement step for them. That's what you're thinking at the moment. That's what you're feeling at the moment. Avoid telling them what they should be feeling. Sometimes we try to change how they're experiencing things. Okay, no, well, you should be really excited about this event. Or, maybe you're trying to say the opposite. You should be a bit more nervous. Why aren't you more hyped up before this event? Let's pare that back. Let's avoid trying to tell them what they should be feeling. Come back to that previous step and validate. This is also a really challenging environment. So that's part of our T's and C's. We accept that, but when that works best is when it's paired with a high level of support, high level of care. When you've got that high level of support and care and communication with your athlete, that's when we can really get them to grow in these challenging environments that we put ourselves and our athletes in. And be adaptive. So I know I'm putting a lot on you coaches now. This is a lot of skills that you're trying to take away from not only today, but from your whole careers. But the more adaptive we can be and understand our athletes' needs, communicate them, know, do they need reassurance? Do they need maybe some motivation? Do they want a bit of humour to diffuse the situation? Having that communication first can help you when they're struggling to open up to these emotions. What do we need to do next? Be open, be flexible as a coach to help your athlete be a bit more flexible as well. Okay, number 2 is getting present. So we've talked about opening up. Now we're going to talk a bit about getting present. So it's very easy for us to get stuck, say, in the past, whether it's before a tournament, maybe that nerves are coming up and we're thinking, oh, what should have I done? I should have prepared more. I should have trained more. I should have done all these sorts of things. And we can end up in that spiral that we've talked about before. Maybe you're in the middle of the test, you stuffed up your last corner or line or shoulder in and your mind's just getting stuck on that. And then all of a sudden we've lost the rest of the test. Same with, very easy to get stuck in the future. Particularly, we're in an outcome-based industry here. We're trying to win, we're trying to perform, we're trying to get scores. So it's easy to think about, okay, what score am I going to get now, given how much I've trained, given how the rest of my test has gone. Maybe if we can also get caught up being like, okay, I just, high expectations, I think I'm going to nail this. And then we miss those expectations and struggle from there. So again, easy to get caught up in these things. And there's a time for planning, there's a time for reflection, but when they're getting in the way of you performing, that's when we really want to stick to the present. So some of the ways we can do this is just really trying to take that judgment out of the thoughts and see them really objectively. What am I doing right now? I'm writing this test. I'm warming up. I'm grooming my horse. Whatever the case may be, coming back to what's happening in the here and now. So some ways to get into that spot in the first place. My 3 favourite ways are sensing, breathing, and movement. So it's great. We can try all these right now. So maybe you're thinking about lunch is up next, so maybe a couple of you are hungry and thinking about what's coming up, or maybe you're thinking about the previous presentation. That's okay, no judgment from me. But we're just going to get present now, so maybe I just want you to notice what's something you can hear at the moment. Probably all going to be picking the same thing there. What can you see? Have a bit of a look around. What are some of the things you can feel? Some of us on different chairs. Maybe it's the fabric of your clothes. Maybe it's your fingertips. We can do a deep breath as well. Just notice your breath as well. Don't have to change it. Don't have to make it more shallow or more deep. Just come back to your breath. It's something you're always doing, something you can always come back to. Maybe it's a movement as well. So whether it's just a squeeze of a muscle, your toes, your fingers, that can just bring you back into the here and now and give you that choice. Do I want to go into the why bother, avoid, or is there another option here? Something I like to do with the athletes is go, okay, well, it's easy enough to do in a session sitting here in a chair. What does it look like out there in the arena? And that's what I like about working at Equestrian Pathways, is I can then walk outside to the arena and work with them on that horse while they do that. So I think based on time, we're not going to get a chance to do that little exercise, but I'll put that in the notes and you can try it yourself at home. So how do we help our athletes get present? Keep instructions short, sharp, and simple. We don't want to give them too much to think about. Encouraging them to focus on the breathing, bring them back to one of those things, sensing, breathing, movement, knowing what their preference is. So getting them to notice their surroundings. We'll talk about this in our following session when I'm mic'd up again. Whether it's promoting some movement of some sort, leaving reflection and planning to an appropriate time. And I like the little acronym WIN. Because not only, that's something that comes up a lot in sport, is we're trying to win, but this helps take it away from being such a result-focused thing to a process thing, which is using it as an acronym, what's important now. So it doesn't matter what's happened, doesn't matter what's coming up, what's important now. If you can answer that question and stick to that, that's a great way to get present and help your performance from there. Lastly, do what matters. So it's a bit broad, but where we're trying to get to here is knowing what sort of rider does your athlete want to be? Do they want to be determined, driven, enduring, dynamic? What sort of things are really important to them? And the same goes for you as a coach. What's important to you as a coach? What sort of coach do you want to be? Do you want to be compassionate? Do you want to be humble, precise, encouraging, persistent, determined? So why we want to know those things is, especially when we're getting a bit stuck, we're stuck in the past, we're stuck in the future, we're stuck to the why bother story, we're frustrated with our athlete, we just feel like we're not getting anywhere, is going, okay, what are my values? My values is to be compassionate, precise, and encouraging. Okay, what's an action I can take in line with that, and choose that now. So this isn't just for mindset and sports psychology. For me, it's really based in behaviour. We're trying to change those behaviours, and if nothing changes, nothing changes. So we've got our ticket to get on board as well, again. So there's terms and conditions when these difficult times are showing up. I've signed up to do this, and knowing what our values are can help us have that willingness to experience those tougher thoughts and emotions that we go through. An exercise that you can do for yourself is think about, okay, well, once I get to the end of my coaching career, how do I want other people to look back on that? Say we have a little party, and one of your athletes comes up and talks about the sort of coach you were, what would you want them to say? It's a really good way to elicit what those words might be for you. It's really hard to stick to these values when we're feeling impulsive, when we're uncertain, and when we're not clear what those are. So being really clear on what they are and knowing when we tend to veer away from our values is a really important self-awareness piece before enacting them. So super quickly, if we were to enact these, we'll take our scenario again. What would acting with determination look like? It might look like choosing to focus on posture, steady hands, maybe nail your setup for your next movement. And then if you pick another value, those actions might look a bit different. So, okay, if we want to be more dynamic, it might be about making quick adjustments, might be going for an extra stride, rebalancing. So how do we help our athletes do what matters? We want to know what their values are or the sort of athlete they want to be, and encourage actions in line with those values, especially when things are hard, but also to know your values as a coach and role model acting in line with those values, especially when it's hard. So how do we help our athletes think and behave flexibly when anxiety is getting in the way? We help them open up, get present, and do what matters. Fantastic. So my contact details are up there. There's a form to leave some feedback if you like, but thank you all very much.